John 42.
John 42.
Yes, sir. Can I get the numbers for Best Premise 907 Hamilton Street, please?
John 42, okay. It's going to be 6 and Nathan, PSA 1, 23589, 23589.
John 42 received, thanks.
You're welcome, sir.
Like every time we meet, I have a gray shirt on. I want you to think I only own one shirt.
You do only own one shirt. That's cool. That's cool. You're allowed to only own one shirt. It's awesome. What's up, Charles?
Not much. What was that music that you were playing?
So YouTube has a database of music that is not copyright, is guaranteed to not trigger their copyright infringement. On their, it's the YouTube audio library. That particular one was One Last Time by South London Hi-Fi.
Do you have to like pay a premium to get like that library or whatever, or?
I don't think so.
Which would be hilarious to like pay to get like access to the
access to the free library. Yeah, pay to get access. Sorry for cat butt in your face. Abigail is on a tear at the moment. Yeah, YouTube has a free audio library.
Hello.
Put it over onto my second screen here and show folks. It's got a search function, and you can find sound effects in it as well.
It's an actual like library. Like you download a file that has like all these playlists and stuff.
You can download each individual track. You can't create playlists or anything like that, but you can play the track right from the site, or you can download it. Pretty handy.
Wow, I mean, I'll give it up to Google for doing something that's not stupid,
I like that chair, Charles, man. Like you about to take over the world, bro. I like that chair.
Yeah. It's,
like you have some minions at your side. Like I need, bring him forward.
It's weird. It's like I can't really sit in this thing like without like sitting in it like this. It's just like with the leg things down. It feels kind of weird. It's like my legs hang off of it weird. This is one of my dad's recliners, and I don't use them that often. I should, but this is what it's like up, so it looks like, commanding.
Right.
Good morning.
Good morning, Cheryl.
How's it going, everybody?
Good. Did you change locations?
What a weekend, right?
Yeah. It's been.
But the Rizzo statue is down. Awesome. That was awesome.
Right.
That
When did
was
they
awesome.
build that?
I want a Harlem Shake in that very spot, just like
Okay. There we go. Do a brief introduction before we get into the topics. Awesome. I'm James Jackson, he, him pronouns. I'm a producer. I live in Philly. I'll throw it off to Jay.
Jahi Sadiq, or Jay, if Jahi Sadiq makes you trip up a little bit. I'm a photographer, training to be a videographer, and a truck driver, which is where I usually am when I make these calls. Nice to meet everybody again.
Throw it off to Charles.
I'm Charles Graham. I'm a software developer. I live in Germantown. He, him pronouns.
And Cheryl.
Hi, I'm Cheryl. I am a scientist by trade, but I also dabble in the film and theater and arts realm.
Awesome. Yeah, so, the Rizzo statue is down. Amazing. Amazing. How did that happen so quick? How
I wonder.
Penny
Yeah,
doesn't
they
fuck
protected
around.
that statue pretty tough the past few
Did you
days. Not any
hear the
businesses,
mayor's
not any
speech about it
people.
though?
No, I
Did you hear
didn't
what the
hear.
mayor said? The mayor said this has been a symbol of anguish and racism for years, and it's part of the problem, and it has to go. And I was like, did our mayor say that?
Yeah, no, I saw that on
What?
his Facebook post. Yeah, his Facebook
I'm-
post says the statue represented bigotry, hatred, and oppression for too many people for too long. It is finally gone.
I wonder what backlash he's getting for that, though, because a lot of pro-police, pro-Philly, pro-everything,
There are
they love that
900.
statue.
There are 900.
Pro clan, Ku Klux. Excuse me.
There are 937 comments to his Facebook post already. There are, and this was posted 2 hours ago. There are 855 shares, and there are almost 3,000 reacts to this Facebook post, and so like Philly isn't fully Facebook related. Not everybody in Philadelphia uses Facebook, so our town of
I say cue up D'Angelo's "How Does It Feel" about that. That's how I feel about that. Just cue up just let that song play in the background as you whine about this racist statue being taken down.
See, here's the weird thing. Like, okay, like, remember they took down the statue of the Flyers' good luck charm, and I'm like, like, all right, she did some fucked up shit in the 20s, but like, at least she can sing. Like,
Rizzo didn't have any good qualities.
Rizzo was awful, man.
Rizzo was awful, and they built
Rizzo
this
was
thing.
awful.
I thought maybe they built this in the 80s. They built this shit in 1998.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
like, what kind of shit is that? Like, why would you build a statue to Rizzo? Like, it was just like
The same reason they have all those game pieces on the municipal court building there. Each of those game pieces cost $10,000 a piece. Meanwhile, kids I was tutoring were sharing the same textbook, and there's no money. But we can afford $10,000 gigantic Monopoly pieces?
Right.
well,
Huh?
see, I don't like. For me, it's like public art is a good thing. So like,
No.
let's not
One piece.
not
One.
going crazy with that. All I'm saying is like, not when it's a racist douchebag who literally like made his career by like not only condoning but actually going after black people with
Yes.
brutality. Like,
Cops would literally strip you naked in my neighborhood during his era of reign with the police officers. They would literally like do body searches on the block with you, butt naked on
It's
your
a form
block.
of humiliation,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it's bad that we shouldn't feel like that in your own neighborhood. It's bad enough when you
Rizzo
go
was
into
off
someone
the
else's
chain.
neighborhood and you feel awkward, but definitely not in your own.
Whew. Rizzo was, man, listen. If the devil had a cousin, And people actually defend this dude. They say, well, when are you going to tear down the African American statue? I said, point to the African American that signed off on the humiliation and deaths of people. I'll wait. Point to him. Point to her. Point to two of them. That's what I thought. Shut up.
Yeah, it's always funny where you get to, you know, African Americans fighting for equal rights of everyone. But when someone's fighting for a racist cop, it's literally just to justify what the cops are doing, not necessarily to protect and serve, or serve and protect, or, you know, seek and destroy, like on the Transformers. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder what the purpose is.
Right.
So yeah, that's something I wanted to talk about too. Is the next steps here, like where we're going. You know, I think the easiest, the most concrete message of all of these protests has been that we need police reform, that we need to seek, that we're seeking the demilitarization and reform of police. Interestingly, one of the more heavily commented on and higher ranking comments on Kenny's post is by a woman named B. I'm assuming she's a woman. I'm assuming she prefers she, her pronouns. Sorry if any of those assumptions are incorrect. Named B. Swope. It took the citywide destruction and violence for you to have the political fortitude to do something that should have been done immediately after you took office, when everyone was peacefully petitioning for this to happen. Now that the statue is gone, time to do the same to the PPD. You want your next re-election? Ditch the FOP donations and stand up for what's right, because it's what's right, not just for your own political expediency. And she hashtagged it, defund the PPD, dismantle the PPD, demilitarize the PPD. For anybody who's watching that doesn't know, PPD is short for Philadelphia Police Department. It's just an easy shorthand here. What's that?
Don't we have term limits?
Not for mayor.
Not for mayor, I don't believe. They should serve 4-year terms. I know there's been several in the last few administrations that have served at least 3.
I think Rendell was 3, wasn't he?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Rendell was 3.
Maybe I just assumed that just because, like, I don't know, like.
I mean, could you stand to be mayor of this city for more than 12 years?
I couldn't do it for 12 hours. I'm good.
Yeah, I just feel like the taking down of the statue was not necessarily to make a point that he was listening. It was almost like we got to protect the statue to put it up in a museum at some point somewhere. It was. I almost feel like it was to protect the statue.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean,
if it was taken and then immediately melted down and made into pennies, then I would clap a little harder. But I do agree that it's probably just taking it just to protect it.
I don't know that it was. I don't think it's going to be put back up in the same spot, which is pretty key to the argument against it. I at least appreciate that it will never be on the steps to the city services building any longer.
Right.
Right.
And also the way he was waving was like kind of hello and kind of like a little bit of a Nazi salute. Am I the only one who would throw that?
No, I know the symbolism all the time as a fellow, as an artist. So yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, he didn't have his hand full straight out, and he was posed walking.
Wasn't doing the...
No.
Yeah.
Wasn't doing the float wave.
No.
Yeah, he was a piece of work, bro. He was, wow.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
just remember seeing it when I was little sometimes, man. In South Lee with my grandfather, just every now and then we would see him. My grandfather was like, he would just shake his head. My grandfather liked everybody. He liked everybody.
And that's got to tell you, like, there's a lot of people
yeah.
that love people in general. And if someone doesn't like someone, you're like, wait a minute. Like, that should tell you, that speaks volumes.
Yep.
But the idea of defunding the PPD dismantling the PPD and demilitarizing the PPD, I think those are all very important and somewhat different ideas, different little parts of ideas. Defunding the PPD, I think that's a really important thing to concentrate on right now. For those not aware, we're having a bit of a budget fight here in Philadelphia. The mayor proposed a budget in response to COVID-19. It was budget time anyway, but his budget cuts huge amounts from arts and education. Entirely cuts one of the arts departments here in Philadelphia, and increases the budget for the PPD by like $14 million. I don't see that as defensible right now. I don't see that as in any way. I would say take the money from the PPD to fund these arts and culture programs that need to be funded, but that's just me.
Yeah, it's tough, and it's going to be even tougher now. Now that a lot of businesses have to close down, and the city, people aren't working because of COVID. I almost feel like, and kids are, being homeschooled, so some of those arts and entertainment and sports and stuff that were being funded probably will stop being funded.
So
because the money, who knows where's that money going to come from at this point?
Some of the highlights: $8 million is being cut from homeless services, and these are just proposed cuts. $4 million from the arts and culture budget. It's actually something like $4.8 million when you look at all the arts and culture that's being cut. $12 million between PSD and Parks and Rec. And a $20 million increase to PPD overall.
How do you justify increasing funding to a police department when you have an entire section of the city that you're allowing small and major crimes to happen and drug use, and you're not doing anything unless there's a body in the street? How do you justify that? It's literally the last episode of The Wire in Philadelphia right now, in Kensington. How do you justify that?
I don't know.
You're not doing anything about this situation, but you want more money. Like, you're literally parked on the corner,
Yeah,
with dope heads, people getting robbed. Like, what are you talking about? How do you justify that?
What would the money go to?
Yeah, like funding is one thing. Like, is it going to just salaries, or is it going to hiring more police officers to go to neighborhoods that
Outlaw in a statement yesterday said that it was for additional resources. She didn't specify what additional resources that she was looking for. Sorry, I'm just telling.
I wonder if she's just trying to feel
for
for what needs to get done here.
To me, honestly, I think the PPD has enough money, and enough resources. Outlaw said that she felt like that she couldn't handle the protests because we don't have enough resources. She was able to handle the protests just fine. Yesterday there were more protests than any time in the past 3 days before that. I was listening to the police.
Practice.
I'm sorry?
Now they have practice.
Well, I was listening to the police scanner, and there were multiple independent small protest marches going every which way. Like, if you listen to the scanner, at one point there was a march of about 300 people going eastbound on Vine Street after coming from the art museum. There was a march of 300 to 500 people going westbound on the Art Museum Parkway at the exact same moment towards the Art Museum. There were 500 people marching north on Broad Street and 100 people marching south on 13th Street, and a bunch of people marching in from West Philly, and a bunch of people marching in North Philly, all at the same time. And there were plenty of resources for the police to attend those marches with sorry,
Cat's always gotta make an appearance.
she wants attention right now. There was plenty of resources for the police to attend all of those with bike cops and with the community resource officers. So the community resource officers, they kind of keep everything in check when there's a protest. They communicate directly with protesters, and they use de-escalation techniques. But that's what we need. Like that's the
point too. Like yesterday's protests, they were doing what they were supposed to do and not tear gassing and shooting people.
Not approaching people with masks and riot shields and military gear. Like right. You don't need all that.
Right.
You don't.
That's not the point of the protest. And no one's going in there with machine guns and they're not armed. So all of that is not necessary.
From the protesters' side,
you taken and I guess they may have taken a page out of like Flint, Michigan, or even Camden. Some of the most dangerous cities where the cops are like, look, we are here to help and not to hurt. I don't know. And meanwhile, in certain areas, they were posing with residents with guns and, being very polite to people who were armed. Which,
all those guys that had baseball bats in South Philly that I heard about that were threatening peaceful protesters.
Oh, it's Fishtown, right?
Yeah, Fishtown.
Fishtown and South Philly.
There were some reports from South Philly, but I didn't see any confirmation of them. I didn't see any photos or confirmation or anything like that. Yeah, there was supposedly similar groups in South Philly with baseball bats and guns. Excuse me 1 second. I'm just but yeah, so the North Philadelphia guys are up near a particular precinct, and they were supposedly out again last night. One of the guests who will be coming on shortly, he lives up there and can probably talk to that. I hope he can talk to that. But yeah, the idea that we have to. So it got into the conversation that I had about this on the live stream yesterday. It got into the idea of, is it freedom of speech for them to do that? I think it is freedom of speech for them to protest and to like stand. So there were some guys at Target in South Philly that there were a lot of camera coverage of, and there was Facebook feed of. Those guys weren't armed. They were all just dudes standing there being intimidating. There was some photographic evidence of from people's Instagrams of folks standing on top of, I don't know what store they were standing on top of, with like machine guns, and the police below basically endorsing that. And we can't have that. We can't have people doing that. Hey Ben, you're not joined audio yet, but feel free to hit the join audio button. Yeah, Ben, I don't know, you're still muted, but if you want to introduce yourself, pronouns, anything you want folks to know about you.
Hi, I'm Ben. I'm a photographer and a videographer. I was at the protests on Saturday and Monday, taking photos. I've been doing this for quite a while, and I've been taking photos and videos at the like the other like Black Lives Matter protests back when it started early. So I've seen a lot of stuff from this.
Also, the conversation around those folks in North Philly out with guns has just started. I don't know if you're interested in talking about that at all.
I wasn't there for the armed. What was it? I guess they were Proud Boys, I think, right?
There's been
or soon to be Proud Boys.
Yeah, there's been alleged connections with various groups. They kind of created those connections themselves by saying certain words and certain slogans as they were marching down in front of a KYW reporter. But they've not claimed to be any particular thing.
The only thing that I've seen was that there were people on top of some businesses that I've seen shared online, and then last night there were actually a crowd of drunk guys with bats hanging in front of my house, saying that they were waiting for protesters and looters.
And did the police come at all? Did anybody report them?
They were neighbors, and I was clearly the only other person outside from that. And I don't know, at this point I'm kind of like afraid to call the police because I don't know, like I live right next door to them, you know, like,
yeah.
And it's, I had no idea what to do at that point, to be honest, like, except kind of just share the information that was going on. And I know that there's another gathering at 5:30 in Fishtown, which is, you know, not far away from Fort Richmond where I'm living. So I just kind of went on there and I just tried to, you know, at least like warn people that this is what's happening, because, you know, I don't know if there's going to be, you know, like violence breaking out. I mean, these guys could just be there just trying to intimidate, but still they're armed with bats and they're also drunk. Like,
be right back, y'all.
All right.
Right.
So my question is, are they out past the curfew? Like, is there?
Oh yeah.
That their intention is to be out past the curfew to help?
They were out till almost 2 in the morning.
Oh wow.
Well, like, what about the people in South Philly with like AR-15s on the streets or something? Was that actually like true?
I didn't. So there were scanner reports of a white male with a long rifle. It was one white male with a long rifle. He seemed to be running around ranting and raving. He caused a lot of call-ins to police. I think they eventually arrested him after about an hour and a half. They were just having trouble tracking him down from what I heard on the scanner.
Oh, so it was just like one white dude. It wasn't like a because like people on Facebook are like, "There's a bunch of white dudes walking around with guns," and I'm like,
I heard the same thing, and it scared me sufficiently that I did not go out last night to find out. I heard, but I did hear the same thing. I have seen no photographic or video proof of that. Just so everyone watching is aware, there are two different city employees, city agency leads who are trying right now to gather photographic and video evidence of police working in conjunction with the folks that were armed, even if they were armed with just makeshift weapons. So that's hopeful to me, that, you know, they're actively collecting that data. I don't have any of it personally, but if anybody personally has photos, or, you know, I've seen the Instagram photos. I'm sure those have been forwarded to these folks, but I'll forward them along as well. And just anybody who has photos or video of folks being militant after curfew or even during the day and being supported by PPD. It's really important to draw attention to that, and it's really important to draw attention to that no matter what they look like or where they live. Folks should not be out here trying to be vigilantes.
And from what I understand, so Pennsylvania is an open carry state, but I don't think Philadelphia is. Like
Philadelphia is considered a city of the first class. You must have a concealed carry permit to carry a weapon in any capacity within the city of Philadelphia, unless it is in a actual carrying case and locked. So you can carry a weapon like to get it into your house, into your gun safe. You can carry it to go to the range, but you cannot concealed carry and you cannot open carry on your person in Philadelphia. If you have a concealed carry permit, you can open carry. It's weird, but
I'm sure they're not checking for permits.
That's odd that like, what is the difference with like open carry and concealed carry? Because it seems like, I feel like, wouldn't that be worse to have it concealed than just open, like walking around?
Concealed carry versus open carry is pretty simple. It is literally, I have a gun in a holster on my belt in a manner that you can see it, or I have it slung over my shoulders in a manner that you can see it, versus concealed carry is I have a gun in my pocket or in a hidden holster in my pants or in a holster under my jacket.
Okay, so it's more that, like, wouldn't concealed be kind of like, because then you wouldn't know who's armed, is what I'm trying to say. Like,
And I think that's the point. Like, that's some people's point, is like, if you don't know who has a gun, maybe you like chill the fuck out and pretend that everybody has a gun and like not act like, you know.
And you don't escalate a
like you know.
situation. You don't escalate a situation if you see someone's, carrying.
Right.
Situations are a little bit different if someone's, pointing a gun at you
We have
or
received a new dispatch route. New dispatch route is now active.
I'm gonna just I got your mute for you if you want, Jay.
Oh, thanks, man. I'll be with you guys when I get done.
We have
Truck
received
stuff.
a new dispatch route.
So yeah, the Jay will still be able to hear us, but he's starting up his truck. So, the idea of concealed carry, is exactly that. Just, if you don't know who has a gun, then you assume everybody has a gun. I don't know if that's functional or not, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pull up some photos here from the share that you shared with me. This one appears to be from the hillside during the 676.
that's correct, yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty close. Like, this is what I kind of find really awful about this whole thing, is that I don't know if did you guys see the WHYY article about how police were claiming that protesters were throwing rocks and trying to tip a car.
Yeah.
Yeah, like none of that happened. I was there, and we got right underneath the bridge, and all of a sudden I just saw a bunch of people running and screaming, and I had no idea what was going on. I tried to duck between a car, and as we're leaving, people are going uphill and getting tear gassed, and there was actually a moment where I was like temporarily blind and trying to breathe, and there's kids running up a hill, and it's like they shot into the hill 3 times when I was there, but it's like they're already leaving. Why are you still firing at them? And then as soon as we got to Benjamin Franklin Parkway, there were people trying to provide medical assistance and like trying to wash out other demonstrators' eyes. And so like when that was happening, they then started firing more tear gas into that crowd. It's like, where are you supposed to go? You know, like I ended up just going to the Rodin Museum, sitting at a bench as far away as I could, just until like things started calming down. But if anything, I feel like the police actually put us more in a, I'd say, more in like the police actually endangered us, because when we were on 676, there wasn't, the traffic was stopped. It was at a standstill. People were getting out of their cars and cheering for us. And it didn't seem like anybody was really mad. They kind of were more giving like looks of like, I can't believe they did this. Holy shit. They're actually here on the interstate. So it's just, I don't know, if they were there for safety, they endangered us. But also like nobody was, these are some pictures of it right now. Like,
yeah. Sorry, I was trying to get to the appropriate spot in your photos.
Yeah, I just kind of sent you everything I uploaded yesterday.
So yeah, this is on 600. You can continue telling your story. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, I mean, it's just there's people just getting out of their cars that didn't seem to be upset that we were there. Like
this guy giving you freedom fist.
Yeah. There's someone just taking pictures. I guess I took these and just kind of uploaded them because I'm like, there's a different story here than what they're trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like anybody is angry or upset in any way with you blocking the roadway. So I want to just really briefly address the idea of ramming or driving over protesters. When you're in your vehicle, you are driving a literal weapon. It is completely illegal for you to hit a pedestrian, illegal for you to hit anybody on a roadway. In any sort of manner, whether they're blocking you or stopping you from going to a place of business or doing anything in particular, that you have no ability to move them with your vehicle. And so folks saying, oh, I would just drive over them, no, that's completely wrong, and you would be you could be charged with attempted vehicular manslaughter, attempted vehicular murder. So here I assume at this point the police have already started firing on you guys, or?
Yeah, this is when people were running from the interstate onto, like back towards Benjamin Franklin Parkway. And it's just, imagine a crowd like that, partially blind or fully blind at the moment, trying to run up a hill. Like, that's, like people were literally walking over top of each other. So it's like they put them in, like, that's a situation where, anybody could just get hurt just trying to get back to safety.
Yeah. So I'll unmute Jay here. Hey, Jay. Oh, you're busy at the moment. Anyway, so yeah, this shot shows how you guys were kettled. Kettling, by the way, is a tactic that was made illegal in several places, including D.C. The D.C. police cannot kettle protesters by law, and any group of police that tries to kettle protesters can be fired in D.C. I know that's not the law here, but it is something that we should perhaps push for moving forward as a law in Philadelphia.
What qualifies as kettling? That's the first I've heard the term kettling.
So kettling is driving or guiding a group of protesters into a place or situation that they cannot escape from it. Police in many districts are required to allow groups of people that are exercising their First Amendment rights to move. They're allowed to keep people from moving into unsafe places. So, for instance, they would be allowed to, if this was in an area like that, and the police had responded by blocking off the highway, blocking off access to the highway in the first place, they would be allowed to do that. They'd be allowed to try and guide the group of protesters away from an unsafe location. So away from a single-use highway with the primary mode of transportation being vehicular. They're allowed to guide people away from that. But what they're not allowed to do then is what they did here, which is block the exit from that highway into a safer location, and not allowed to block protesters from moving. They must allow protesters to move in any safe direction.
Yeah, the only way out of there was a part of the fence that was knocked over, or it was climbing the fence. So I mean, it's like trying to bottleneck a crowd through just like an opening in the fence. Like,
yeah, this would this would be considered kettling, because that even if there was an exit up this hill, it would not be considered an exit. So yeah, so if these police were in DC, they would be fired immediately. They would be liable for charges against them. I think it's something that we should fight for here. We have some laws around kettling and crowd control, and items in place to try and help protesters exercise their freedom of speech, but we don't have, a lot of them are not formalized as laws. They're police policy. This morning it was revealed that a memo in the PPD was leaked that was the commissioner issuing orders that all use of force must be announced over the radio before an officer uses force, and a couple of other things that were always in place before. I actually have that up somewhere, and I wanted to touch on it really quick. But why weren't those things in place before? Why did it require a memo from the commissioner? They used to be things that were just standard policy. Yeah, so let's see. The commissioner, a day after Philadelphia police came under fire for the handling of the demonstration on 676, Commissioner Outlaw is ordering the department to revise its use of force guidelines, effective immediately, and until notified otherwise, all use of force must be reported via police radio to ensure we can properly defend our actions when we are ultimately challenged. So that includes Also, things like pepper spray and less than lethal munitions.
When was that? When was that directive given?
Yesterday.
Yeah, maybe that's why. Like yesterday, there wasn't a whole bunch of violence. Like,
Well,
Makes sense.
yesterday also, so these photos are from day before yesterday, correct? These are from, yeah, so these are from, all the days are starting to blend together to me. I apologize.
yeah.
And the so day before yesterday, it seemed like the city was following a new set of rules around engaging with protests. And they seem to be directly copied from Outlaw's rules of engagement from Portland. Yesterday, it seemed like we reinstituted rules that were in place for the last 10 to 15 years that involve de-escalation and involve not approaching protesters with geared up police like this. I mean, it's cute to give the horses some eye protection, but these face shields they dehumanize the police officers. Even though it's a clear face shield, you can see here that it obscures the shape and contours of a face. It obscures the eyes. It obscures the mouth. It breaks up how people look as humans, and so that's why it creates that dehumanization. It's easy for people to attack things like ATMs, Wells Fargo Bank, Wawas, but it's not easy for people to attack humans. So part of the de-escalation policies has always been to not have police outfitted with masks, like you see here. Unfortunately, COVID makes face masks somewhat necessary. I don't know how we square that off. Maybe make a uniform mask.
I can understand wearing the mask, but not the shields. Like in this picture,
Yeah.
guy on the left, I'm okay with. Guy on the right, not necessarily.
Yeah. So, well, I don't know, and Ben has said that he's doing the thing that I've encouraged other people to do, which is if you lived through that event, if you were there and you were an eyewitness, write up your eyewitness account. If you have any recordings, collect all those recordings, photos, video, whatever you have, and submit them. There's a really easy to find internal investigations, internal affairs form where you can submit complaints. If you were there on 676 and you were forced to go up that hill, if you were exposed to tear gas, if you were hit by rubber bullets, you were the victim of police actions, and the internal affairs has to investigate those. I would say that part of moving forward as well for Mayor Kenny and anybody else that's actually interested in our city growing and changing would be to create some sort of community board that does community investigations of police actions. I don't know how you all feel about that.
I agree. Definitely agree.
Yeah.
I think it's important to also just show, like everything that's going on, and just so that people can actually see it, because, clearly with the narrative that was trying to be said about I-76 was false, and I think it's important to just be out there and document it and make sure, like, in case things go wrong. And
yeah, definitely having the truth out there, regardless of what the truth is, even if protesters had been rocking a police car or had surrounded a police car or whatever the truth of the situation is. Now, I'm not saying that happened, because I have seen plenty of video and photographic evidence myself and watched the tactics of the marchers throughout the day myself. I know for myself that it would take video proof of protesters actually surrounding the police car to convince me that that happened. But if that proof is out there and exists, send it in. Submit it to people. Show people what you know to be the truth. It's super important. It's super important.
I think it's important to know exactly what happened. But yeah, if somebody has it, I agree to send that in.
Yeah. So make your truth known is an important step in moving forward. Another reform perhaps I'd like to see, not as widely publicized, a little bit publicized, is that all the police officers that were part of this action day before yesterday on 676 were all suspended, according to Councilman Green.
Wow.
They were all suspended and pending investigation of the incident. Nobody announced that. Nobody said anything about that. Nobody said who or what part of what departments or anything like that was suspended. And I only found out because I spoke with Councilman Green, and Councilman Green was nice enough to actually call me and speak to me on the phone and talk directly with me. Who was suspended?
Get to do that?
Huh?
How'd you get to do that? You just call his office?
Yeah, I called his office, left a message, also messaged him on Facebook. It doesn't. Some council members are eager to talk to constituents. Some aren't. I've had really good luck with getting certain council members on the phone, and bad luck with others. So, I think
some of them you just get your secretary.
Huh?
Some of them you just get their secretary.
Yeah.
If you're lucky.
It's really nice. So when City Hall is actually open, when I've actually really needed important attention and urgent attention to something, actually walked the halls of City Hall and physically gone into, because their offices are all public, physically gone into the offices of the council members that represent me and asked for an appointment to speak with them. So if you can't get through on the phone, if you keep getting voicemail or not getting if you're only getting a secretary, walk into their office. It's a public building.
Can you do that now though with COVID?
I don't think so.
I think the city offices are still closed. So they have hours. They have times when you can't go in. I think they're under a closure order right now.
Yeah. I remember like related but completely non-sequitur. I remember the couple last times I went into City Hall to brighten things up. There's like an art gallery there, and I did not know this, and like it just randomly changes things to brighten up your day, like But FYI for listeners, there's an art gallery in City Hall, and that changes every once in a while. So there you go.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I used to. It was yeah, I used to do video depositions there, or not depositions, video playback in courtrooms, and yeah, I was surprised to see that there was a museum, but it was I don't even know where I'm going with this.
No, I just thought it was. I don't know. I mean, we're all talking about depressing shit. I'm like, there's cool stuff in City Hall too. So Ben, did you see any of the rioters? So like, I don't want to put attention to the rioters, but I also like it's my perception that like a lot of them were just like bullshit anarchist people and weren't like
Oh, the rioters? I actually didn't witness any rioting or any kind of violence. I mean, I have some photos I want to upload eventually that are of businesses that were destroyed. I think a lot of the rioting and I think a lot of the violence is happening outside of it. Because I think so too. Because I mean, you have a huge crowd of people walking around in one area, and the police are concentrated there, so people are going and damaging other places, and I think it's. I mean, the guys that were in front of my house saying they were waiting for protesters, like. It's not the protesters, it's the people rioting, but also still like I just don't like the idea of guys standing around with bats and drunk and like
you're waiting for something to happen. Like it doesn't even have to happen. Just anyone that looks like something, it's just that's not it's not good.
We inviting them.
That's not proactive.
To fight.
These guys had they had coolers outside filled with beer. They had tables and chairs and like. They were just ready to sit there the whole night, like
because anger and alcohol always make for a good time. Like, what are you doing? Like, come on, man.
I mean, that's definitely fucking or fighting, and those guys are probably not getting lead. So
real quick, I wanted to. We got to wrap up in a couple minutes, but I wanted to real quick address one of the last things on my list here, which is weaponized police. Apparently New York upper crust hasn't learned its lesson. New York unmelanated, especially female folk, seem to still be calling the cops on brown and black folk. There's a developing story yesterday. A woman who is known in New York City, Svetlana Flom, phoned the police repeatedly to get them to respond to a local park where an African American woman who has the Instagram handle Brown Sugar Baby underscore Brown Sugar Baby was sitting in the park with her, I believe with her kids. I'm not exactly certain. But she was sitting in the park, regardless of why she was sitting in the park, doesn't really matter. She was sitting in the park. The Svetlana, the pale lady, decided that our brown sister did not deserve to be sitting in the park, even though she happens to live next door to the park. And she called the police repeatedly. Eventually the police showed up and were like, yeah, there's nothing we can do about that, and left. But what will it take for people to stop weaponizing the police?
And they try not to respond, so it's kind of hard
fines. A big, huge, juicy fines.
Yeah, if I show up and it's just because you didn't want somebody in your neighborhood or in your building or at your pool.
$25,000, $35,000. Citations.
Yeah.
Hurt the pockets. This is America. I hate to say it, but it's always about the money. Hit the pockets.
Well, as I've said before, though, a fine, a crime that is punishable by a fine just means it's legal for rich people.
Yeah.
Not if you hit them hard enough.
Well, actually, where do the fines go? Do the fines go back, like, okay, I fined you, $25,000, and the person who you called the police on gets half of that?
I'm also wondering.
That's a good question.
I'm also wondering, like, how enforced it would be, because unless it's something very serious, because like I can't imagine that like everybody's going to be able to pay those fines, and there's like if it's 25,000, 35,000, but I mean if there was just like I don't know, I guess if you're reporting that there's somebody armed with a gun and they're not, that's a different story than reporting that there's somebody suspicious walking around.
Right. It's the equivalent of a false police report. If I say that I need the cops right now for an emergency, and my emergency is these kids using chalk on my sidewalk to make a hopscotch, I need to get fined. Because I'm taking away police officers that could actually be responding to an actual emergency.
So maybe the fine is just equivalent.
Has that law changed?
Maybe the fine is equivalent to the level of police that are called to that incident or something. But also, we would need universal enforcement, because the problem is any law is enforced more against people of color and minorities of any description. Like, even if you look at laws about, just as for instance, if you look at parking laws for handicapped individuals, handicap tickets are written ironically more commonly to people who have handicap placards and are legally allowed to park in those spaces.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably because they didn't notice it.
No, it's in the window.
I mean, I guess I'm giving them a benefit of the doubt, but then again, it's like, no, they're in the window and sometimes even on the license plate.
Yeah, PPA is evil. I got a ticket on Chestnut Street. In my car, I pulled over to make a phone call, which is what you're supposed to do, because I didn't have a hands-free on me at the time. The meter maid looked at me in my car, turned around, gave the ticket in front of me a ticket, who was legally parked, and then turned around and tried to give me a ticket. I said, whoa, I'm not parking, I'm on the phone. What are you doing? Oh, I didn't see you there.
I just looked at you.
If she had written it out, it would have been already written.
I'm a black dude in a white car. You saw me get out my car to finish the phone call, because it was like, I just wanted to get some air while I was pulled over. You looked at me, turned around, get a ticket in front of me, and then you said you didn't see me? Huh? I said, I need you to tear that up right now. Don't finish that ticket.
All right.
I got a ticket where, like, you put the thing in the dashboard, and technically, I think I might have put it on the driver's side instead of like right near the curb, but it's like on the dashboard. Like
they saw it.
I mean, technically, you have to put it in a very specific spot, but I think it's the way. But like, actually, I got it. I got my money back, but it was stupid. But I have to say, worse than PPA is actually like the New York people, because like there's actually signs that are like, so signs are kind of supposed to be displayed on like a 45-degree angle. That's like so that it's like near you, so like when you're looking at it, you can see the sign. Well, there was a sign that was pointed to like in a way so that if like you like it was like the other way, so you can't see it unless you're like getting out of your car looking the wrong way. But so here's the fun part: it was a no parking anytime sign because of like some bullshit, and so they booted my car. And then they towed my car.
Oh, wow.
Oh, and here's the thing, like, in Philly, like, at least I think you basically get the same fee. They charge you for both of them. They're like, oh, this happened because we booted your car and we towed your car. So it cost me $500 to get my car back. And I'm like, wow, damn. Because then you also have to pay the ticket, which is not a part of the booting or the towing. And I'm like, ooh. So
both of those parking authorities are the worst in the world because they both have yielded actual TV shows. If you are actually so horrible that a national network could show up, you have reached epic levels of being horrible. That's crazy.
I thought it was Philly and Detroit. Was it New York?
No, they did New York too. They did New York too. But mostly Philly. Mostly Philadelphia.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I remember there was like one woman who was like actually like 4 blocks from my house, and they talked about her. They were like, she's hiding behind the bushes. Like,
wow.
That was pretty crazy.
I didn't pay one parking meter in the 2 years I parked everywhere in South Korea, which is also a democracy. Just want to put it out there. That's all I'm saying. And you can literally park just about anywhere because every single street, byway, little cut is either a business or a street that's being used. They don't waste anything. There's no such thing as an abandoned house or an abandoned office building in South Korea. If it was a Cafe Wednesday, it's going to be a Kmart tomorrow. They do not play around. It's like, damn.
It's quite a stark difference here in Port Richmond because, I mean, I came from South Philly, but the PPA doesn't even come here. You got people that are parking literally on the sidewalks.
You can think that was Rizzo right there. Rizzo did that.
Yeah.
I think that was the mob, really. I think
who do you think Rizzo worked with?
Rizzo was part of the mob.
It's like coffee and espresso, same thing.
the neighbors, someone like literally like took their own tools and took down these no parking signs themselves, and they never got replaced. So like, yeah, I mean it's like parking over there is nuts, but you could literally park wherever the hell you want. Like people are parking like less like way too close to fire hydrants, and nothing happens to them. Nothing.
No towing, no fine.
No, PPA doesn't even come there. Not unless like SEPTA calls something in. Like if like a car's blocking like like a pickup, like a boot, like anything like that, or a bus path. That's the only time they'll ever come to Port Richmond. So it's just it's so bizarre.
So I think the general consensus is we need to weaponize the police by making sure that people are charged with something when they call the police for false reasons, and then we also need to get rid of parking authorities.
Parking authority needs to go.
I think we all can actually agree on that one. Like,
yes, we do.
Or just make it like Port Richmond, where if you're blocking a bus route or a bus stop,
right,
you get a ticket, because like that's probably the only time it's not cool. Or fire hydrants. I think that's something you shouldn't be blocking.
And the whole 2 to 3 hour parking thing.
I mean,
like, how do you know I've been there 3 hours? How do you know that?
I think you know?
They drive by with camera cars.
No. I literally got a ticket, and I had only been there 15 minutes, and I cursed her out. I said, I've been here 15 minutes. It's 2 hour parking. How do I know? Because I went in there and gave somebody something 15 minutes ago. Because I see when you say that means I know you're lying.
I think they like literally have chalk marks. I think they have chalk marks and stuff. I think they have to. Like,
well, she must have ate her chalk because she lied and they threw it out. She ate the chalk. It was the tongues. I don't know.
Yeah, it's strange. I don't know how they do that.
It's a stupid victimless crime. It's very stupid.
Yeah, no, victimless crimes. We need to. I think this is why we need community oversight over policing, but I don't know how to set that up necessarily. I'm sure that some legal expert somewhere has some pretty good ideas. I'm gonna wrap this up just because we're over time by a bit, at least for the stream. You guys can stay on the Zoom and chat more if we want to. But I just wanted to thank everybody, Charles, Benjamin, Jay, Cheryl, for joining me. And I'm gonna stop the stream now. If anybody that's been watching the stream has any questions or input, feel free to comment. Please like, share, subscribe. all that good stuff. Thank you.